Nice. We made it.
We are live.
We're on time. Look at us go. It has been a hot minute since we have done this. So, well, it's been a hot minute since I've done this. So I don't know if this is what you use for all the other fun, exciting classes that you do. But yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute for me too. So we've been doing Zoom a lot. So I'm like, okay, live stream, StreamYard, let me figure it out. And normally Megan did all of the behind the scenes stuff. So for everyone that's watching, bear with us. I think we're making this happen.
IT is not a strong suit.
If you're somehow in this in the StreamYard, there's a link in the chats to go straight to the YouTube, and that is a better place to watch. So that is my mistake.
Lori does not see the link.
Okay, I'm going to try to send it one more time. Save changes. Private chat. Here we go. Okay, sending. Okay, we're live. Okay, I wanted to read a little opening statement because we haven't done this in a while. So if you guys are new to the Academy of Logic and Light, we are a peer-to-peer education platform that allows for curious exploration of spirituality without indoctrination. We are a community held in safe space so that we may all practice uniquely together. We strive to be as accessible and ethical as possible. We are a grassroots organization still growing, and we strive to support other like-minded educators, practitioners, organizations, and small businesses. We hope to offer as many free resources as possible. We do offer more on our Patreon for only $5 a month. Most of what we do is donation-based, and these donations help the Academy pay its bills and help us support our community as we grow. If you wish to support us in non-financial ways, follow us on social media, like, comment, and share our content whenever you see our posts. And we'll be posting Elle's Instagram handles as well, and she's also on Facebook. This helps us grow our community and our educators and everyone who has volunteered their time. We currently have several positions available for anyone looking to help us grow in our vision, especially if you're into tech and social media.
Please, if you're in tech.
Please. We recognize sovereignty and the right to choose how you worship, who you worship, and if you do not worship, and that it is a personal experience. It is never our intention to offend, so please take whatever information today that resonates with you and leave what does not without judgment. And also, if you're offended by cuss words, we apologize, but they will be here. And probably talks about murder. It's just how we operate. We would like to take a moment of gratitude for all of those with the same vision of community and collaboration. Gratitude for those that came before us, that sacrificed and trailblazed so that we can safely gather today. Gratitude for the lessons, the teachers, and the students alike. And a moment to thank that which is important to you. We ask that you be present. The chat box is open. Please feel free to interact. We love interacting. If you have any questions, let us know. And at this time, we invite Elle to take over, and let's talk about the first house.
Very exciting. First house in Aries. And so if you have followed the show in the past, you know that we typically go off slides and we have a ton of information on them, and we don't necessarily read them, but we go kind of in this structured way of teaching. And Julie and I have decided to just kind of flow with it, which is very out of nature for me with all my earth dominant energy. So I am trying something new. So I'm just going to flow. I'm just going to talk. Julie and I are going to converse a little differently than we have in the past and how we've taught. So, but if you're here and you're just wanting to learn astrology, or you truly are like, I am an Aries, I am dating an Aries, I have a lot of Aries placements or a lot of first house, whatever's, I mean, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. So hopefully you guys enjoy this style of teaching a little differently. If not, please let us know, because we can always go back to the content and having everything on a slide. We're just trying to flow. When it's on a slide, I'm like, okay, what's next? And then, there's no real flow to it because I'm waiting for the next slide.
And we also have 50 free classes on this YouTube. So if you go down to our YouTube, you can literally start from how to read a birth chart to each element. And then we've gone through so much. So this is just us jumping back in and going even deeper.
And it will be not so much beginner. I mean, it's still beginner, but a little intermediate. I'm going to throw some degrees in there. I'm going to throw some different flavors that kind of happen with each sign and what happens when you have a sun sign. You know, your sun and your Mercury are always very close. And so that changes a person a lot if their Mercury is not the same as their sun sign, because the two planets next to the sign that it would be in are nothing like the sun sign. So, and I'm going to go into that because that probably didn't make any sense to anyone but me and Julie. So we'll go into that. First off, where is Aries in your chart, Julie? Anywhere?
Shoot.
Do you
I
have
was
Aries
like,
in your chart?
I could probably pull up my birth chart.
But I just plan on like going off of like where yours is. I have 0 Aries in my chart, like not a single planet. It is my 4th house ruler. So I'm gonna go into all of that, but I just I don't have it. The Aries energy is lacking.
Let me look.
And if
It's
you're
weird. So I got a new
watching,
computer, and so everything that's saved is just like gone onto the other computer. But
I can actually well, it's on my other phone too. So let's say I can pull yours up.
we've got a
Man, you have 6
user
Aries.
6
Yes.
Aries placement. Dang.
Are you fiery
Yeah.
as fuck? Like, I can only imagine. I mean, it does depend. Outer planets typically don't cause so much of that Aries energy in your personality, but I mean, I would be curious to see your chart. And we will at some point pull up your chart. So if you want to send us a chart and you want us to kind of use your chart as a reference, we are happy to do that, especially when you have 6 Aries, placements that we could really go off of. So
I'm gonna put our email address into the comments. So if you guys want to send your charts, I can figure out if I can try to put them on. I don't know. We'll play. I can
we're gonna find this out.
light at gmail.com. Okay. That it's
While you're searching, I'm just going to touch on some Aries basics.
Go
So
for it.
Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is a cardinal fire sign. So this is a lot of leadership, a lot of boldness, direct. There are 2 different versions of Aries you can get. You can get a very evolved Aries, which is probably very strong and passionate, and they have a lot of direction and make great leaders. And then you can have Aries that are not so evolved, and they can be aggressive and assholes and just everything that you're bad about Aries. You can tell, and Aries is a very easy one to tell if they're evolved or not. And very quickly, you will notice very quickly that what kind of Aries you're dealing with. I think yours is frozen. Is mine frozen too? I hope I'm not making a funny face.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's kind of like the evolved and unevolved Leos. You always know.
Always. Let's see here. I think your screen is frozen. I don't know if mine is frozen too. If somebody wants to like check in and say, hey, you guys are frozen.
My computer is lagging so much. I think I got it wet.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm lagging too and no one can hear us, but I'll get a text. Okay, we can still be heard. That's good.
Oh no.
I'm going to.
No, I can hear you.
Okay. So, with that being said, if you have an Aries sun and that means you were born between March 21st and April 19th, that means you're an Aries sun. And this means that, you can be a loud individual. You love, to have this direction, this leadership. A lot of times, when you have an Aries sun and you're evolved, you make one of the best, like, I don't want to say, oh, we lost Julie. Sorry.
I'm here.
Welcome to show 1. She's coming back.
On the laptop.
Nice.
We've got backups.
I'd be shocked if you didn't with your Capricorn self.
I know, right?
So yeah, Aries leader. This makes for a person that's really good at paving the way when other people might be scared to make moves. This person jumps right in. They're very bold. A lot of times you find Aries doing like very athletic things, like they really enjoy sports. A lot of times they enjoy extreme sports as well, like maybe something that adds a little danger in there. They kind of thrill junkies, kind of one of their things. So um, it's definitely an energetic sign.
Okay, 2 laptops don't want to work. We're still here.
We're here. Jump on your phone, it's fine.
Good call. I got one of those too.
So, one of the things I did want to kind of touch on as we'll wait for to find Julie's Aries in her chart because I
I
do
have
have
no
it.
Aries in my chart, by the way, and
None?
nothing in the first house. No, I'm with Mallory. She has three in her chart. If we want to use her chart,
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just curious what yours was.
nothing.
Nada. Dang.
I know.
Well, and I mean, just because you're lacking something in your chart, if you don't have any Aries in your chart, there could be a number of indicators that, well, there could be a few different things. You maybe, if you don't have Aries or any fire in your chart, then you might find yourself like a little less fiery, or maybe you have a lot of Leo or Sagittarius that kind of offset that, and you are very fiery. But sometimes the things that we're lacking in our chart are kind of one of the bigger lessons in astrology because it's something you have to find. Like my chart lacks a lot of water. I lack a lot of emotions. I have to really sit with emotions that are very uncomfortable for me, where earth is my dominant and air, and I'm kind of flowy and I like structure. So this going off of a whim is more of a water thing. It's more of a flow. It's more of a just off the top, not a planned teaching session. So very, very water energy.
Look at us. Look at us stepping outside of our bounds with the earth energies.
Yes, because you don't have water in your chart really either.
No, it's my true node in Cancer, and that's pretty
Mhm.
much my life lesson.
To be more emotional and less concrete.
Gross.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so fun.
So I wanted to, if you are looking at your birth chart, and hopefully a lot of you are, this is something that we've done in the past. We have you show up to these lives with your birth chart, so you can really look at what planets are where, and that way it gives you more of significance of your chart. So when I say something, you can take, whatever your sign is or whatever house it's in, and use that knowledge to apply to your own chart. And so ultimately at the end of this, we really want you to be able to look at your chart and say, I understand this and this is how this works. So that's kind of our goal. So we don't have slides for the chart, and I was going to go grab my book, but I didn't. But if you are looking at your birth chart and there's a line horizontal all the way across the pie, we're going to say it's the pie. Oh, yeah, see Julie there. She's coming through. Clutch. So it's kind of.
I mean, this is the least professional we've ever had as slides, but it'll get better, I promise.
So if you look on the left side of her screen and there's that straight line that's going horizontal, it's not going all the way through the chart, but that is the first house. So if you're looking at one that has 12 pieces of the pie, that's the house system. It does go counterclockwise. So if you're looking at the first house where your ascendant is, it's going to go 1, 2, 3 counterclockwise, and those are considered the houses. The planets that are in that house are going to be whatever that house ruler is. Sometimes depends on what kind of chart. A lot of people like whole charts. If you do read whole charts, it will always be the exact sign. Each house has their own sign that rules the house. So if you're looking at the first house and say your ascendant is in Aries, Aries will be at the middle of that circle on the left hand side, somewhere in that first house, if it's Placidus. If you're looking at a Placidus chart, if you're looking at whole sign, it'll be right there on the line. So that is your first house, and that's kind of what we're going to look at today. I'm also going to point out, if you are an Aries sun, you are either a Pisces Mercury or a Taurus Mercury, or an Aries Mercury. Mercury and the sun do not travel very far from each other. There's no way that it's going to be a sign outside of that. So you're going to take the who you are as an Aries sun and how you think and how you speak and how you rationalize things. So we're going to take those two energies. So right now we're going to look at Aries sun and a Mercury. So if you are an Aries sun and an Aries Mercury, you're probably very direct, you're very bold, you hold true to how you think, how you speak. It's very Aries energy. Have you ever met an Aries that you're like, wow, you don't give me Aries energy at all, right? Like you meet them and you're just like, no, this is not it.
No, I don't think I've ever met an Aries that didn't resonate.
Yeah,
Or
Aries
you
energy.
usually, as soon as you meet an Aries and you find out they're an Aries, you're like, yeah, that tracks.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, most likely you've met a lot of Aries with probably an Aries Mercury. When I meet an Aries that I'm like, they're just, so Aries is very on top of their shit and they're very, conscious of what's going around them. They're very aware. They're just all these things. When I see an Aries a little aloof, I'm like, I wonder if their Mercury's in Pisces. When they're a little daydreamy, I'm like, you're not really on this planet. I'm going to assume there's some either heavy Pisces placement or maybe the Mercury and how they speak and how they think is a little more daydreamy. So I'm trying to teach you how to take what your sun is and a different planet and mesh those two energies. So on top of that, since I said that we're going to scale this up a little bit, it's not just going to be a beginner's course. We're going to throw a little intermediate things in there. In each piece of your little pie, each house, there's 30 degrees, 0 to 29. There's no more than that. There's no less. You will have a planet at a degree. If your Aries sun is at 0 degrees, and say we're going to use Pisces Mercury is at 29 degrees, Aries is brand new energy. It's new. This is the first time that this energy has entered into the sign, and it's going to be very young Aries. Whereas a Pisces Mercury may still be a little more daydreamy and a little more not on this planet thinking. They're also going to be a little more evolved and more put together than, say, a Pisces Mercury at a 0 degrees. So 0 degrees, 29 degrees. 0 is brand new energy. 29 is like they've lived old man energy and they have evolved through all of the things. And sometimes you'll meet someone at a 0 degree and you're like, oh, they're very evolved for a 0 degree. And maybe there's other things in their chart that's really targeting that. But keep that in mind, that the different energies, your sun and your Mercury, if they're two different signs, it's something to look at what that other sign is, what those qualities are of that other sign, and what degree that it's in. Also, you're going to want to know what house it's in. If you're an Aries sun in the first house and your Mercury resides in the first house, then there's obviously a switchover in that house of the sign. If you think about it, it had to have switched from Pisces to Aries for it to even have the Mercury in Pisces and an Aries sun. So basically, look at your sun in your chart right now, whether you're an Aries or you're a Scorpio or you're a Libra, and then look at your Mercury. And that's going to give you an indication of your communication style and how you think and how you present yourself. So I know the girl that I work with, she's actually a Libra sun and a Scorpio Mercury. And when I tell you she does not speak like a Libra, she is feisty, she is fierce, and she is like, don't fuck with me. That is such Scorpio energy. I don't know what degree it's in. I don't have my other little chart in front of me, but that's a way that you can take your sun and your Mercury and combine kind of your personality and how you think in one. So Aries sun, Pisces Mercury, going to be a little more aloof. Now, if you're an Aries sun and you have a Taurus Mercury, you're probably extremely direct. You're probably so well planned out your life and your thoughts, and they're patient, and which patience isn't necessarily an Aries thing. It's more of a Taurus thing. So how you think might be a little slower than a typical Aries. Can you hear me? Are you good? Can I hear you? I think we lost Julie again. This might just be me chatting.
Sorry, I'm back. I don't understand what's happening between my headphones and the muting and everything. We're having difficulties.
Okay. Can you hear? You can hear everything. We just maybe can't hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
Okay. So if you're an Aries sun and a Taurus Mercury, you're definitely going to be very structured, consistent in how you communicate, how you think. Whereas even if it was a Pisces Mercury, you'd be a little more aloof and not so consistent and a lot more daydream like. So if you have an Aries Mercury and you're an Aries sun, how you think and how you communicate and who you are really aligned because they're the same sign, and it's, bold, fast, quick, excitement, And if you're an Aries sun, Aries Mercury in the first house, that is a whole nother level of intense Aries energy. You're probably super athletic, probably just work out all the time. Mental health is really important to you. There's a lot of different indications that it could say, like fitness, extreme sports of some sort. I mean, if you look at a lot of athletes that have really like pushed themselves to the limits, I would guarantee there's a lot of first house placement going on there. So anything
I
you
have
want
nothing in the first house, so
I wish I had more in my first house.
I just worked with a girl, and she was like, "Guess what sign I am?" And she was a triple Aries. And one of the sentences she says, she was like, "Why don't you just come to CrossFit with me?" And I was like, obviously we've just met." Like,
your Aries is showing. You need to cover that up some.
It was like the communication, it was the workout, it was everything. It was so much fire.
I love when I meet an Aries and they're in just they're evolved and they're, in a good space. I feel like I just meet a lot of Aries women that are more challenging for me. Me being a Libra, there's this weird thing, but occasionally I'll run into a few that I'm like, wow, like we're really vibing, and that's so cool because I don't always vibe with an Aries. It's a little more challenging for me. They're sometimes a little too abrasive for me, and I'm just like, you're being abrasive for no reason. But I know to expect that. But it's, and then Aries men, for me, I get along with really well. Like there can be aggressive and arrogant, but it's also not quite like a Leo for me. It doesn't bother me like the Leo energy has in the past. And that's something I'll go into. That's my own thing I have to work out. I'm not hating on any Leos. Leos are amazing. It's personal.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's personal. I think we've all been personally attacked by a Leo at some point in our lives. I think everyone has a little Leo trauma. That's why they have the funniest memes during Leo season.
I think Leo and Geminis get the most hate, shame. I mean, it depends on what.
I love a Gemini.
Huh?
I love a Gemini.
Oh yeah, they're fun. They're a great time until they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, okay, this was fun.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I dated two Geminis at the same time, and they were exactly 10 years apart, like almost exactly. And it was just an interesting observation.
You know what that means? Most likely
that I need therapy.
No, maybe two at the same time. That's wild, girl. But no, anytime there's like 9 years difference between people, typically, depending on like exact, but 9 to 10, their nodes are in opposites. So the nodes switch every 9 to 10 years. And so you're dealing one with a north node, a destination in this life for one direction, and the other one was in the complete opposite. I don't know how true that was.
One was rich and one was poor. Does that
make sense? See? That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I'm like, hopefully...
One still sends me money.
We'll take it. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. But that's just kind of fun fact for everyone who is curious about the nodes, because the north nodes are your destiny. Your south node is your past. It can be your childhood. It can be past life. It really can just be, you have to just look at the whole chart as a whole to kind of gauge that. I'm still trying to figure out if mine was past life or still carrying on to this life. So it's not as easy. And I've been studying astrology for a hot minute. So it's been something that's been a challenge for me to figure out. But so that's here. I went over Aries and that's the sun and how it works with your Mercury. Now, if you're an Aries moon, that one is a little more challenging. Aries moon is, it's not, I mean, it's not the worst moon to have. It's not in fall, so that's good news. But handling emotions can be very intense and there can be a lot of passion behind it. If you don't have a lot of other supporting signs in your chart, it can be very challenging. Like if you have, say, a Libra sun and an Aries moon, that can be challenging because they're the opposite. So how you feel and who you are do not align. They're complete opposites. You might want peace, who you are to your core. You want peace and this like flow, and then your Aries moon would basically want water. So it doesn't align, and not that it couldn't. It's just a challenging aspect when they're, like oppositions. So just keep in mind that it can be challenging if you find yourself with an Aries moon and you have Libra in your chart. A lot of times, if you have, if they square, so Cancer or Capricorn, if you have that heavily in your chart and then you have Aries, something that's close to that, and especially if they're within orb, which means the degree of that sign is within 5 degrees of any other sign, that makes it a whole nother energy, just to add to the degrees on there. I'm sure a lot of you are like, what? And if this doesn't make sense,
within 5 degrees,
within 5. So if you're, let's say, your sun is Aries and your moon is Cancer, if they are both, let's say 0 degrees, let's make it really fun. That is a huge indication that there's a big struggle there. Whereas if you have an Aries sun and a Cancer moon and they're not within orbs, they're not within 5 degrees of each other. I'm not saying that it's not going to have its challenges, but it's not going to be so challenging that there's something really big there for you to gain in this life. So, and if this isn't making sense, if this is too much, too fast, I would recommend going back and watching some of the slides because we did go through the planets, the houses. This is just more of a intermediate level, but I can slow it down too. I'm just trying to help out the ones that are like, oh, I get this. I remember this. So, but anytime you have an Aries moon, it's probably going to be a little more challenging, even if it doesn't square or there's no oppositions in your chart. It's going to be a little more challenging. It's just fire in the place where you feel emotions is sometimes challenging.
I just sent you Kristen's chart.
Nice. And she's let's see what Kristen is.
Aries rising.
Nice. And her first house is empty. No Aries. Which, again, is its own equation of, what you're missing in your chart tells you just as much about yourself as what's there. So there might be some serious levels of lacking self-confidence. There can be issues with or not. Let me look at her. I mean, her sun is in Libra, Aries moon, Libra sun. That's that can be very challenging. Like I said, anytime you have an opposition, a sign that's complete opposite of another sign. The only thing is there's not any planets in her Aries, which is probably very helpful. The fact that there's nothing that's really other than her rising that's not completely throwing her off with like who she is or how she handles things. So, but I'm going to go into the Aries rising too, because that's a really good one. But if your moon is in Aries, hopefully you deal with things and you don't throw tantrums. But I say that with Aries Mars too, because I think Aries Mars not evolved to me is the most terrifying person to deal with. I've never met one that didn't throw anything
I
angrily.
can agree with you on that.
If you've met an Aries Mars and they are calm and they don't throw or punch a hole in the wall, they must have some very, very calming Zen. They've evolved. They've done therapy for years because I have yet to meet one. I'm like, oh, you have an Aries Mars. That's cool. Like, don't talk to me ever again, please. I'm
I'm
cool.
sending you Lori's chart right now.
Very nice. Sagittarius rising. Yeah, I'm gonna touch on hers too. Cause let me find her Aries.
Yeah, so it's
5th house. Lots of planets. Ooh, and Saturn in Aries. That's always a fun one. But I'm gonna go through my list and then we'll touch on the Saturn Aries. So, if you have a Venus in Aries, this is a very unfortunate placement. Sorry.
I always say Venus Aries is the horniest sign.
It is very passionate and they have a lot of energy. And, it's Venus is ruled by Libra and Taurus. And so it's in fall here in Aries, unfortunately. So it's in fall with Aries and Scorpio. So those are two signs that, are, when I say in fall, there are energies. Venus is about love and beauty and all things. Like, do you think Taurus energy sensual, pleasure? Libra kind of the same, more Libra and Taurus energy, but Libra's a little more bougie with things. They're not as practical. So it's that energy. And then you take Aries and a Scorpio Venus, and those are the complete opposites. And it's challenging there because Aries wants war. And again, they're very sexual because it's more of an aggression. It's more of a, fiery passion, and not a love, not what normally goes there. So it could be challenging if you have an Aries Venus and maybe not, And the next one is Mars. If you have an Aries Mars, again, that is a very explosive placement. But if you have mastered it, I would love to meet you because then I can say I've met someone with an Aries Mars that's not explosive and doesn't want to punch holes in the walls.
Yeah, I've never met that either.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. I'm pretty sure.
I did date one. I dated an Aries Mars in LA, and I was like waiting for it because I would only see him like 2 or 3 days at a time.
Mhm.
And I was like, it's so weird. He seems so like even tempered and chill. And it was like waiting till like that 3-month mark where somebody cut him off. And then I was like, there it is.
There it is. I see you. Ugh. Yeah, I've watched a lot of Aries, Mars people just lose their shit over time. And I know what their Mars is, and they're still in my life. There's some of them that I can't really, I could, and I have, but I could avoid. But one of them being my child, can't avoid that one. But
No.
yeah, so it's just a lot of passion and aggression all in one. And if you really haven't done the work, then you probably should. I'm just gonna say, I'll leave that there. And then Aries and the outer planets, it's always subjective to your chart and everything. So it's kind of harder to go into, you know, you can say, Jupiter Aries may have more luck than other signs. They tend to, if you have a Jupiter or a Neptune in Aries, you're less likely to be fooled than other signs. Not quite at the level of a Capricorn. I always see when a Capricorn Neptune, I'm like, you probably not really many people probably get things by you, but Aries is kind of the same. It's cardinal energy, so they're pretty on point when it comes to understanding people's energy and their intentions behind things. They're not very naive in this placement. And Aries Saturn can be very. There's Saturn is the planet of lessons. So anytime you have a lesson in, how to be a leader. You might struggle with an authoritative figure. You know, a lot of times this happens with people with Aries and Saturn. It could be that you struggle being a good leader. It could be that you struggle being assertive. I mean, it really depends on the chart, but there's a struggle there with leadership, whether it's you being a leader or you taking direction from someone who is a leader. It just kind of depends on other things in your chart. But so I'm not really going to go into the outer planets. It just doesn't seem that it's going to be that much as far as personality goes. But I am going to touch some on the first house and planets in the first house. So I've kind of touched on the Aries. Do you have anything else that you want to add before I go into like the first house? Some Aries things, fun facts?
I think I've put all my prejudices on the internet about all my Aries places.
And you know, if you find yourself always attracting Aries, that's one thing I wanted to touch on, because there's a lot of times where we tend to attract a lot of the same people and we go through patterns in our lives, right? Like we date kind of the same people. And one of the things that I found with Aries is you're most likely attracted to that leader and that strong, that bold, take initiative. This is the guy that will take you on a date and plan everything and you just show up. And then this is the girl that she's going to like hold your hand and be like, we're jumping off this bridge now, bam, and you're flying off a bridge into some water, hopefully. But you know, like it's that kind of fun, light, exciting. They love a good thrill. This is like a theme park date. So if you find yourself constantly gravitating to these types, there's probably something in you that you find that exciting. You may have a lot of Leo or Sagittarius in your chart. I always think of like, I used to be a huge like, oh yeah, I date an Aries. And I have dated an Aries. It was actually one of my best relationships. So it's not necessarily a bad fit with the oppositions. It just can go sideways really fast. So, but again, to touch on what you're attracted to, I was thrown off of a moving boat by this Aries that I dated, out of a moving car. I don't think I've punched anyone in the face more than I've punched him in his face. Yeah,
Stories.
I'm just saying those. It was, but it was fun. I was young. It made sense. Now I'm like,
Fun.
it's fun. I mean, part of the reason he got punched in the face a lot is because he was doing stupid things like that. Like you're taking a shower and the next thing you know, cold water just comes over the top. I don't like stuff like that. That's not fun to me, but I come out swinging. Yeah. So it's those sort of things that I'm like, I was young and I was really attracted to that. I was attracted to the fun and the crazy and the excitement, and I might die, but it was fun.
There's some excitement there. That's why I kind of like dating Scorpios.
Yeah, I'm sure that is fun for you. I could.
Yeah, you might die, but you're gonna have a good time.
It was worth it. I can't with the Scorpio, but for Capricorn, I do like a Capricorn Scorpio mix. I do.
I wouldn't marry one again though, but I would date them again.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Short term.
Short term. I like a Capricorn with a Scorpio. I like a Virgo with a Scorpio. I have a few friends that are that mix, and I think it meshes flawlessly. Like I love it. I love the mix because Virgos, whether it's guy or girl, and Scorpio, whether it's guy or girl, they tend to, like, when I think of a Pisces and a Scorpio and a Cancer and a Scorpio, it's so much water, which is good. They align, they work well together. But I think there's something really cool when you throw an earth aspect with water, because it's like emotion and practicality meet and it flows. I think pretty good.
That makes sense.
Air and water, not recommended.
No.
Fire and water sometimes can be really cool and nice. Sometimes the water puts out the fire, and that's sad. But fire and earth, that one's a struggle too. I am not saying it can't work. Obviously it can work. It literally, your chart is based off of 1,000 different signs. Not really 1,000, 12. It's based off of 12 different signs. I should teach properly. But it's like, it could work. It's just they're very different energies. Fire and earth are very different. I would say that's probably one of the hardest elements to put together, fire and earth.
Yeah, I was in my longest relationship with a fire sign, but I was the more motivating one.
Really?
So annoying.
I wonder what was the person, an Aries or Sagittarius?
A mama's boy.
Oh, fuck.
A Leo.
Mm. Yeah. An unevolved Leo is a nightmare.
Yes, it was.
I feel like that should be a book. An
Yeah.
unevolved nightmare.
I actually have like a list of book titles and t-shirts, and that's a good one.
Yes, I like that one.
Merch coming soon.
We should just make funny shirts with like astrology things and like that. That would
be our biases.
We will probably not sell to a lot of Leos or Aries. Everyone else is good though.
Yeah, but they would be great gifts to give, like under like jabby little like Leo. Yeah. It'd be funny.
Leos suck. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I got this for you.
Subtle.
No, I like it. I like it. Okay, so if anyone wants to throw anything in the comments, Aries planets, I'm going to move to the house and kind of touch on that and some planets that can go in the house and what kind of flavor that is. So let's say, I was going to do the ascendant. I'm going to actually do the ascendant and then move into the house. So if you're an Aries ascendant, to me, your ascendant, and not to me, in astrology, your ascendant is like your soul. Like your sun sign is who you are, and your ascendant is like your true core, and it's like your soul. If you were to take your brain and your soul, your brain would be your ego and your sun sign, and your soul would be to the core who you are is your ascendant. It is the moment you were born where the ascendant lies. If you think of, the first house, the house right before that is the 12th house of death. You literally transcend from the 12th house into the first, becoming like the second you come out of the womb and you are a living. Sorry, I have a dog now, by the way. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yes.
That is my dog.
Yay.
Sorry, I'm like, normally it's a cat.
I hope we get to see.
What?
I hope we get to see this dog.
Oh yeah, I can.
You've also had a spider come down.
No, I haven't. Oh, at my old house.
Yeah.
There's one here. I was like, no, I don't. I also have something on my screen. So I was like, oh no, it's behind me. I see it actually. But it was just something on my screen. I have a toddler, so there's no telling what that was. Yes, I had a black widow that came for the live once. And most people were like, you're psychotic. But I was vibing with her, man. She was chilling. We were chilling. Put her outside afterwards. It was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah. I have chickens. Sorry, I went on a whole nother. He just started scratching, and so I was like, oh, that's probably really loud. And they're like, what is that noise? But I have a dog. So the ascendant in Aries, and I totally lost my train of thoughts. I know that's where I was going, but I think I started talking about something.
Death and then rebirth.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was no big deal. It was just death and rebirth. The moment that you enter the world, you go from the 12th house to the first. Your ascendant is there. That time is so crucial, that location, everything. It is your core. It is your soul. And so I always think of when I see someone with their sun and their ascendant, they're very true to who they are. There's no misconception of, when I met you, you seemed like this, but you're really like this. That's not a thing. And so I know that when I see someone with a sun and an ascendant in the same sign, and especially if they're within the same orb, within 5 degrees, I'm like, okay, this person really is who they are showing me right now. And I'm always aware of them. That's always something in the back of my head. So your ascendant is how the world sees you and how you perceive the world. So how you view things, your viewpoints, your style is your ascendant, your appearance, how you come across. If you have an Aries ascendant and your first house ruler is Aries, which means that's obviously your ascendant and it's the planet in the first house, you're probably athletic build, you probably dress sporty, you probably there's a whole body structure, and I don't have like all of this memorized. That's not my area of expertise, but I know that the face, do you know what it is? The face, it's like the head, basically. Aries rules the head. And so you probably have strong features. A lot of times they tend to be a little more broad shoulders, especially in the men. The women typically are larger, not necessarily like big because like they're athletic. So it's not like they're fat. And it's more of like a um, just bigger boned type of structure. I don't even know if I should say fat. That sounded really rude. I didn't like that. Sorry. No offense to anyone. I'm a big girl. I just had a baby. I'm a thick girl these days. I'm here for that. But it's typically an athletic build that's like muscle, and that's kind of the appearance when you have an Aries ascendant. You come off very bold, you come off very strong, you come off as a leader. It's a very, I would say, magnetic. You can pull people in. There's this charm and charisma that comes with having an Aries rising. There's a confidence there if it aligns with everything. There, I've seen it too, where you got some funky things going on in your chart that don't cause that expression to be so positive. It can be more, again, how I was saying earlier, it can be lacking authority. Like you could lack all of that if you have some things working against you in your chart that are really that just don't align with your rising. It could be something very, a lot of other placements in your chart. A lot of Cancer in your chart with an Aries rising can cause cause a square. And if it's within orb, it can really challenge that Aries rising. And instead of coming off confident, you could come off as cocky, or, just different ways that a Cancer can affect an Aries placement. So I could go on all day about that, but that's going to be another class. So Aries rising, it's to me one of the best risings to have, because it's the first, it's the leader. It's what drives your ship, and who doesn't want that driving your ship? Because you're a Leo rising, right?
Yeah, which is why I can make fun of the Leos, right?
I don't have any Leo in my chart either.
Really?
No Leo, no Aries, no Cancer, no Pisces.
Wow.
Lots of Virgo.
Hmm.
Taurus, Sagittarius.
Yep, yeah, I don't have any water. And that pretty much my only fire is, I believe, is my Leo rising.
So you're Earth and Air dominant too.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
This just makes this more fun for us.
Yeah, we flow. We also kind of stick up our ass, but like the best way. If there's even a way to have that in the best way, I appreciate that about myself.
Yeah.
I was just talking about that today. I was like, I need a script, but I don't need a script. I'm going to do this. But you would think our air, it would be easier to just flow, which I mean, I'd say we're doing good. I'm just yapping.
Yeah.
So,
about our favorite subjects. We got this.
Yeah, I'm staying on Aries topics, and I'm going into the first house now. So, but the ascendant, if you want me to look at your chart, I can really look at those areas of what's going to lighten that. And you'll know if you're like, oh, I'm one of those people. I walk in a room and people instantly stare and they're drawn to me, and I take control of the situation or the conversation, and yada, yada, yada. I walk up to whoever I want, whenever I want, because I'm strong and bold. And if you're like, no, I'm one of those people, I walk in and I'm like, anxiety, who is going to say what, then you probably have some things going on in your chart that it's causing that to not truly show an Aries rising energy. So, and there are ways you can work through that and, help those planets magnify the best qualities of certain planets in your chart. So it's not that you're doomed. You just have to learn how to do things in a different way. So
I think that's why it's nice too to identify these things, because once you see it in your chart, you're like, oh, I actually have the capability of doing this, and I do have these things in my chart that I can access. I
Mhm.
just been holding myself back because of this point, and that's why, to me, really understanding your birth chart is knowing you have access to all of these energies and personalities, if you will.
All your personalities. I know people that have planets in every single sign, and I'm just like, wow, you've got a mix. Like, that's good for
Yeah.
you, but hopefully. So yeah, I mean, it is a way to really understand your strengths and your weaknesses. I know what my weaknesses are, and I know what my strengths are. And I think that that has truly benefited me. And also, I will say, learning astrology has helped me maneuver a lot of relationships in my life to create these bonds. And it's not necessarily like, I think some people would say that as part of being like manipulative. Like, I know their birth chart, so I know how to maneuver with people. And in a way, yeah, but in a way, it's like I choose to do that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to maneuver anything for anybody. I could just be like, oh, I am who I am. But I enjoy understanding and interacting with people and knowing their placements and how to compliment them for them. Like, I could tell someone, you would be really good at this job. I can tell certain people, this is not going to be for you. And I know that. And like, it's helped me even with the job that I have today. Like, I knew my strengths, and I knew that I did everyone's birth charts, so I knew their strengths. And so I'm like, I also know their weaknesses. So I'm like, I show up where that is, lacking, I'm like happy to give them things that I know that I'm not good at. So
Hmm.
IT, we've got some young ones on the payroll, and I'm like, how do you do this on the phone again? What is this thing again? Help. Please do this. Help me, show me. So, and then my
Thing.
boss, she's like, has the gift of gab. Like, she can spit off anything. I don't have that. And I'm like, God, I'll just watch her, and I'm amazed, because I'm like, what it must be like to just be able to spout off these things. It doesn't come to my brain like that.
Right.
So it's just kind of cool. It's cool to use astrology in that way to help understand people and show up for them, because I have a lot of water friends that I know emotionally need emotions and love. And, I don't think of it as manipulative. I think of it as showing up for people in the way that they need.
Mhm.
I'm kind of a martyr like that. But to stay on topic, first house. So if your sun is in the first house, again, we've kind of gone over like the body, your ascendant. Let's say your ascendant and your sun are both in Aries in the first house. You're very true to who you are. If it's in the first house, again, this is that very workout, athletic kind of energy. If your moon is in the first house, you may struggle. This could be a harder one. There could be a struggle with how you feel about yourself, and that's going to be on a few of them. You may feel really confident about yourself, or you may really struggle with your appearance and, you know, just your maybe not just your appearance, but how you're perceived or how you see the world. There could be a struggle there with the moon, because it's emotional. It pulls emotional things. The moon is ruled by Cancer. First house is ruled by Aries. They don't have exactly the same energy, and especially if you have a moon in, like, say, Cancer, or you have a moon in Taurus, or you have a moon in a sign that really offsets the Aries energy. Like a Capricorn moon in the first house, that can be challenging, because Capricorn and Aries, they square each other. Capricorn is a leader and has a way about them, but it's very different energy than Aries leadership. It's more planned out, it's more thought out, it's not sporadic, it's not reckless. And those two kind of really struggle with the same energies, because how you feel and how you want to maneuver and the house that it's in, they don't align 100%. So, um, and if you have, let's say, moon, let's say your Mercury, which if your sun is in the first house, your Mercury most likely is as well. How you speak, again, direct, Aries energy, it flows, it's nice. Whereas Venus in the first house um, is not as prominent. It's going to be a little more, maybe you don't have the best luck in relationships. Maybe Maybe you have these expectations of what you want your person to look like. I know this happens a lot, especially for women. You're like, he has to be 6'2" and he has to make X amount a year and he can't have children. And it's like, and you find yourself never dating because you're like, well, this person exists. They do exist, but there's a smaller, chance of you finding them because everybody's got kids. Not really, not now, but older. That was gonna see.
You live in Utah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, I don't live in Utah anymore. I don't know who knows that or not, but I'm in Oklahoma. Oh, it says that in my bio now. Right? You put a little thing in there. I saw something about 6 kids. I think it's Oklahoma. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm in Oklahoma. Fun fact. Also, one day we should do a little live about locations and your sign and the energy of the location that you're in. I'm not an expert in that, but I think it'd be fun to try to teach a class, or at least stumble over my words and try to figure it out as we go, because I think it's fascinating. And I forget what it's called with the lines.
Astrocartography?
Yes. I
so into it.
Love that. I'm supposedly supposed to be somewhere in the Gulf, but it does say I meet my spouse in
Mexico or America.
I don't know, actually. I wasn't looking at the it was like in the middle of the Gulf though. Like it was in the ocean. I was like, well, that makes sense.
Oh, giving Lemuria vibes.
Maybe. I was just like, I don't even think there's any land out there, but maybe that's where I'm supposed to.
At one point of time, yes.
Yeah. So, sorry, I derailed from the first house, but that'll be fun. That's something we can do sometime once we get through the signs in the houses. So let's say your Mars is in the first house. Mars thrives in the first house, where Venus doesn't so much thrive. Mars is like power, fun, excitement, all of that lives in the first house. So this could give you a really good, depending on other planets, it could give you a really good combination of being involved, feeling comfortable in evolving, and accepting like, hey, I might have an anger issue. Because it kind of flows nicely there, versus someone who may have an Aries Mars in the 4th house or the 10th house. It's not going to flow as easily there. It's not going to be as noticeable, and you're not going to be as likely to work on that because it's more stubborn in those houses. It's not as flowy. It's not as like, oh, I can't punch the holes in the wall, and I can't scream and yell and throw my phone because I have to buy a new one, and that's not fun. So yeah, that's if you had a Mars in the first house. Jupiter in the first house is a very lucky placement. It's a full-on, if your Jupiter's in the first house, you tend to have a lot of luck. Your appearance is generally very beautiful, and you probably have a lot of luck with that. I don't like to think that appearance really matters that much, especially like these days. I would think that we're past that, like just based off something of how someone looks, but we're not. I'm pretty vain still. So this is a placement for luck and appearance and gifts and things coming to you. So it's a good one. Let's see. Saturn in the first house. I really think of like someone who really struggles with their appearance, but in a way that's like almost like, I think of Megan Fox and how she says that she has, what is it, like dysphoria, like image dysphoria or body dysphoria. Is that what it's called?
Well,
and
yeah.
I think to most people who see Megan Fox, she's gorgeous. She has an amazing body. She's a beautiful girl, but it doesn't matter if that's what she feels. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what she looks like. If she doesn't feel that she is that, she really struggles with her appearance. This is that kind of energy. I'm not saying that that's the placement she has. I'm just trying to use that as an example of like someone who just never feels good enough on their appearance. And Saturn, through life, hopefully they learn to accept themselves. This could be someone with a handicap. This could be, certain things you think of Saturn, it really comes along and teaches us things. So this could be even somebody who gets in some sort of an accident, it changes or alters their image, and they have to learn how to accept that. I mean, there's a lot of things that can indicate this in your chart. This is just an example of some things that Saturn can teach, and how it teaches can be, maybe you're very beautiful and then you get into an accident and your face is not the same. This could be Saturn trying to teach you how to let go of being vain, how to let go of your appearance, or maybe you can't work out as much. Maybe it changes and you have like something that could cause you to not be able to work out, or there's just a lot of things that can really mess with your appearance here. And that's probably one of your life lessons, is to let go and accept things for what they are. So,
Dang.
or it could be the opposite. You know, you could start out with maybe something that causes you to be insecure, and you evolve as you grow, and that teaches you to accept and love yourself for who you are. It could be the opposite too. It doesn't have to be like so negative. Think, oh, I'm beautiful and now I'm not, or I'm not beautiful but now I feel beautiful. It could really go either way. I would say if you have a node here, if you have a, let's say, Saturn is here and then a north node is here, that would probably indicate which direction that goes, right? Like if your north node is, let me think about how to say this. I got to collect my thoughts. If your north node is in, we're going to say Aries, and that could be a positive, like you really started maybe in a certain way and learned how to love yourself. Whereas if it was your north node in Libra, I mean, Libra, we all know they tend to be a little more vain, and it could be that they're very beautiful, and then it changes and they have to learn to accept and love themselves. That's just an example. That's probably a very broad example, but if you have a node there, I would say that there's a lesson, and that's how you can kind of channel what type of growth you're going to experience in your life.
I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's always an indicator. Anytime I see Saturn next to a north node or a south node, I just know that there's something really heavy that's happened there. And I also know that whatever, one of the things that I use to tell if someone is going to have a great change in their life, like something that, like you meet people and you're like, oh my God, this thing happened to me and it changed my life and it was so drastic, is when you have a north node and Saturn by each other. A lot of times that Saturn hits and it hurts and it causes them, it sells them into their growth and their true potential in this life. Like that's an indicator of that. Not always, but a lot of the times. So something I look for in charts. I'm like, oh, you're going to go through something crazy.
Dang.
But, you know, sometimes you don't know what that crazy is. So, and then, you know, Saturn, we all go through our Saturn return. If you didn't go through hell at the age of like 27 to 30, I pray for you when you turn 58 to 60, because it's going to come back. If something didn't significantly change in your life in your late 20s, then you probably skated through, or you probably chose to live a life of comfort that you're not truly satisfied with, versus, you know, climbing over the mountain and making changes and restructuring your life. I think you and I have talked a lot about our Saturn return, what that looked like for us. It's not pleasant in the moment by any means. And it's probably not pleasant for the people around you who have to go through it with you. I'm currently married to someone that's going through a Saturn return. So it is an adventure. And you have to really look at it when you go through your Saturn return. It is something that's for you and only you. And you learn and grow. And it may seem like a whole shit show. So if you're going through this now and you're like, my whole life has changed, it's shifted, this has happened, embrace it, go with it. And, you know, don't stay in a placement of, this is comfortable and I'm going to stay here, but I'm unhappy, but I'm scared. I don't want to like try new things or venture out because that's scary. If you do that, you're going to live another 29 years of, you know, what ifs. So go through it. live it. Do it in your 20s. I think the 50s would be so hard. I'd hate to be 58 and be like, oh.
Yeah.
But you see it. You see people go through midlife crisis. You see people go through a divorce at that age, which you're just like, God, that seems like so sad. But it probably should have happened a long time ago. You just held on way longer. And so, and that's with anything, not just marriage. It can be anything. Oh, kitty. So yeah, Saturn in the first house, Neptune in the first house a lot of times could be someone who has illusions about themselves that are false. They may have this perception that they're this way and they're really not. And I don't really think I know anyone like that, but I know they exist.
I like cult leaders and presidents.
Yeah, yes, politician. Yeah, for sure. Those are the types.
Yeah,
Neptune in the first house.
that
0
makes sense.
degrees. 0 degrees. Very new, very learning. So Pluto in the first house. This one can be kind of a heavy one. A lot of self-destruction, a lot of tearing down, self-rebuilding. Um, I always think of like, and Uranus too. So those two planets in the first house can be very destructive. They can, one, Uranus is very, doesn't like to be told what to do. I mean, the first house is really kind of that Aries energy. They don't like to be told what to do either. So when you combine those two in the first house, it can be very an explosive personality. This person may go to jail at some point in their life, or just really struggle with authority. And the same with Pluto. It can be a very destructive placement for maybe having, I would say, more with self, like maybe doing really good and having these patterns of like doing really well and then completely like destroying. Like, I don't know. Like, I know people that are like, I'm like, oh, they're doing so good. And then you see them like, oh, they're not doing so good. And it doesn't even have to be like drug related. It could totally be just anything. But it's a harder placement. It's not easy to have your Pluto, your Saturn, Neptune. The outer planets in the first house can be kind of a doozy.
It sounds like it. My gosh. And then you were saying again, like it does. If you have nothing in the house, it could mean something as well, right?
Yeah, when you don't have any planets there, it could be that you really are lacking that, or you might be searching for that. I know that one of the things when you're missing an element, and that's kind of a fire element, like when you're missing an element in your chart, you might search for things like, you may search for very emotional partners if you don't have water. You may search for very structured partners if you don't have earth. Like, those are element energies, right? The first house is going to be fire energy, but it's also self. Like, you might always be searching for self-acceptance. You might be trying to find yourself. Mine's pretty empty. And I think I relied so heavily on astrology at a young age because I was so lost. I had no idea how to identify. I also had, my mother was a Scorpio sun, Gemini moon, Cancer rising. She was manic bipolar, also depressed, and a drug addict. So the consistency that I saw, and that's who, raised me, in a parent was so wild, up and down, here to there, like happy, mad, like out and crazy, to sleeping for months on end, that I had no idea how to find myself. I'm like, I don't, it was like my examples were not very good.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't it. I was like, I'm cool off that energy. I got to figure something else out. So I went into astrology so heavy. And I think that that's probably a lot of my missing first house, no planets, nothing, because I lack there. And I actually think my Neptune is in the first house, now that I'm saying it. Like, wait, I actually do have a planet there, but my Neptune, which is an illusion. So maybe I'm the illusion person that I think I'm someone that I'm not. But no, I mean, I have a lot of other strong things that really build my character. But yeah, if you're lacking, you don't have anything in the first house, those might be things that you're searching for. You may really look for a partner that's fit, or you may be very fit and want someone that's not as aggressive and fit, and maybe life is focused on fitness and sports and things like that. So it could go many different ways depending on the other aspects of your chart.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. But we made it for an hour. It is 9:10. I just looked down. I was like, oh. So we don't want to keep you guys past an hour. I could ramble on about astrology all the time. So if you have questions, or if I went over something and you're like, what was that thing again? You just ask me and I will happily respond. I've got a few messages here, so I'll respond to you. I did just have a newborn, so if you could bear with me a little bit, I am a sleepy girl, but I will respond.
I'm just putting your Instagram handle. It's Copper Market Astrology, right?
Yeah. And you could just do my L's as in both. Either one, it doesn't matter.
Coming up. Perfect. And then we will be back next month with the second house and Taurus.
Mm-hmm. Everybody loves a good Taurus. Second house, finances, possessions, steadfast, snacks.
Snacks and naps.
Mm-hmm.
And heated blankets.
Everything cozy.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to be like 73 here next week, so it's probably not going to be. I know. I'm so jealous. I know. I'm so happy to be back in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I love Utah. Don't get me wrong, but the weather here is more my style than Utah.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be coming through and visiting you when we get our trailer.
Yes. I can't wait.
It'll be so fun.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night. Happy end of the month, and we'll see you at the end of February.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.